Fleet commander stood at the front of his ship and looked out at the stars. His purple skin glowed softly in the light of the control room behind him. Hundreds of officers worked at their stations, checking weapons and shields, but was not worried. He had done this many times before. His ship was called the Eternal Conquest. It was the largest warship in the fleet, 3 km long from front to back. It carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon, and it was not alone. Behind it flew 3,000 more warships, each one filled with soldiers ready for battle. The Dominion had been conquering planets for 600 years. They had defeated 11 different alien species. Not once had they lost a war. Their technology was the best in the galaxy. Their soldiers were the strongest. Their commanders were the at least that is what believed. Commander, said a young officer named Al, walking up to stand beside him. We will arrive at the target planet in 12 hours, nodded slowly. His 4 eyes blinked one pair at a time. Good, tell me about this planet again. Al looked down at his data screen. The planet is called Earth by its people. It is the 3rd planet from a yellow star. The people who live there call themselves humans. They have only been traveling in space for about 60 of their years. Very primitive weapons asked. They have nuclear devices, explosive, powerful enough to destroy their own cities, but nothing that could hurt our shields. They have no energy weapons, no plasma cannons. Their ships use chemical fuel and move very slowly. Made a sound like laughing. It was a wet, bubbling noise that came from deep in his chest. Chemical fuel. They burned things to move through space. How did they even leave their own planet? They are determined, said Al carefully. The reports say they sent their first people to their moon using computers less powerful than our children's toys. They built rockets that exploded half the time, but they kept trying until they succeeded. Stupid and stubborn, said that is not the same as dangerous. What about their military? They have many soldiers, millions of them, but they fight each other almost constantly. Their planet is divided into many different nations. They do not have one leader or one army. They cannot even agree on how to run their own world. This made very happy. A divided enemy was a weak enemy. Perfect. We will arrive, show them our power, and they will surrender. This will be the easiest conquest we have ever had. Al wanted to agree. He wanted to believe his commander was right, but something in the reports bothered him. He had been reading about humans for many days now. The more he read, the more uncomfortable he felt. These creatures were strange in ways he could not explain. Commander, he said slowly, there is something else. What? The Galactic Council has placed a warning on the star system, a quarantine zone. They say no one should go near it. Turn to look at Al with all 4 of his eyes. The Galactic Council is made of cowards and merchants. They are afraid of everything. They put warnings on half the planets in the galaxy. Yes, Commander, but this warning is different. It says the planet is I-4. A moment, said nothing. Were rare. They were planets where life had evolved under terrible conditions, high gravity, extreme temperatures, dangerous animals, poison in the air and water. The creatures that survived on such worlds were often very tough, but they were also usually very primitive. Advanced civilizations did not come from. The conditions were too hard for technology to develop. Of that developed space Travel shook his head. Impossible. The council made a mistake, or they are trying to keep the planet for themselves. Either way, I do not care. The Dominion has ordered this invasion. We will carry it out. Yes, Commander. Al returned to his station, but he could not stop thinking about what he had. Read, the humans had a strange history. They had survived ice ages that covered their planet in frozen water. They had survived diseases that killed half their population. They had survived wars where they killed each other by the millions. And through all of it, they kept going. They did not give up. They did not surrender. They rebuilt and tried again. Over and over, there was a human word that Al had found in his research. The word was spite. It meant doing something. Not because it was smart or safe, but because someone else said you could not do it. Humans seemed to run on spite. They climbed mountains because the mountains were there. They went to their moon because it was hard. They kept living because death told them to stop. Al did not know how to put this into a military report. How do you fight an enemy that does not know when to quit? He decided not to think about it. The commander was probably right. That had better weapons, better ships, better everything. What could primitive humans do against the greatest military force in the galaxy? In another part of the ship, soldiers were preparing for the invasion. They checked their armor and their weapons. They practiced fighting. In different environments, they studied pictures of human cities and human faces. One soldier, a young female named Ra, looked at a picture of a human for the first time. It had only 2 eyes, which seemed wrong. Its skin was a strange brownish color with no scales or shells. It had fur on top of its head. It looked soft and weak. These are our enemies, she asked her squad leader. Yes, easy targets. 1 shot will kill them. They do not look dangerous. They are not. This will be a simple mission. We land. We take control of their cities. We capture their leaders. It will be over in days. Ron nodded and put the picture away. She had fought in 3 invasions before. Each one had been easy. They always won. There was no reason to think this time would be different. Across the fleet, 3 million soldiers thought the same thing. 3,000 ships flew toward Earth, filled with confidence and pride. They had never lost. They would not lose. Now on the bridge of the eternal conquest, gave one final order before going to rest. Send a message to the Dominion Council. Snorts, tell them the Earth invasion has begun. Tell them to prepare a victory celebration. We will return as conquerors. The message was sent. The fleet flew on. None of them knew what was waiting for them. None of them understood what humans really were. None of them had ever met a creature that had evolved not to run from danger but to chase it, to hunt it, to face it with weapons and fire and a terrible, unbreakable will. The thought they were predators going to catch easy prey. They were wrong. They were flying straight into the territory of the most stubborn, most violent, most creative species the galaxy had ever produced, a species that had spent its entire history fighting everything, including itself, a species that had turned war into an art form and survival into a religion. The humans were waiting and they were ready. 12 hours later, the fleet dropped out of faster than light travel. Earth appeared on their screens, blue and green and beautiful. White clouds swirled across its surface. City lights sparkled on the dark side. It looked peaceful. It looked harmless. Commander smiled with all 3 of his mouths. Begin the invasion, he said. He had no idea that those would be the last confident words he would ever speak. The fleet stopped. Near Earth's moon, 3,000 warships hung in the darkness of space, their weapons ready, their shields glowing with power. On every ship, soldiers waited for orders. They expected this to be quick and simple. Commander stood on the bridge of the eternal conquest and looked at the blue planet below. It was beautiful, he had to admit. The humans had a nice world. Soon it would belong to the Dominion. Open a channel to the planet, he ordered. All frequencies. I want every human to hear this. His communications officer pressed several buttons. Channel open. Commander straightened his uniform and spoke in a loud, clear voice. People of Earth, I am Fleet Commander of the Dominion. Your planet is now under our control. You will surrender immediately. Your leaders will come to our ships and accept our terms. If you resist, we will destroy your cities. You have 1 hour to respond. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. He made a cut motion with his hand and the communications officer closed the channel. Now we wait, said. They will panic. They will argue among themselves. Then they will surrender. It always happens this way. But the minutes passed, and no response came. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Al watched his screens nervously. Something strange was happening on the planet below. Instead of panic, he saw organization. Military bases were coming online. Ships were launching from secret locations. Underground facilities were opening their doors. Commander, he said quietly, the humans are not panicking. They are preparing. Preparing for what? They cannot fight us. I do not know, but they are moving very fast. It is like they were already ready for this, like they were expecting us. Made an angry sound. Impossible. We told no one about this invasion. At 47 minutes, a response finally came. The screen on the bridge flickered, and a human female appeared. She had dark skin and short black hair. She was sitting in what looked like an office holding a small cup of brown liquid. She looked completely calm. Hello there, she said, in perfect galactic standard. Sorry for the delay. Had to get everyone on a conference call. You know how it is with government agencies. Everyone wants to talk. Nobody wants to listen. Was surprised. He had not expected a human to speak his language. He had not expected a human to look so relaxed. You have heard our demands, he asked. Oh, yes, very impressive speech. Very dramatic. The woman took a sip from her cup. I'm Secretary General Martinez. By the way, I'm sort of in charge of this whole planet thing, at least for today. We rotate the job for alien invasions. You rotate? Sure, last time it was the European Union's turn. Time before that was China. Today it's the United Nations. Which means I get to do the talking. She smiled. Lucky me. Felt confused. The woman was acting like this was a normal meeting, like 3,000 warships were not pointing weapons at her world. You do not seem afraid, he said. Should I be? We will destroy your planet if you do not surrender. Secretary General Martinez sat down her cup. Let me ask you something. Commander, do you know why the Galactic Council put a quarantine zone around our solar system? Cowardice. The Council fears everything. That's one theory. The woman leaned forward. Here's another theory. They put up that quarantine because the last 3 species that found us didn't Back, well, most of them didn't come. Back, we kept a few for conversation. Felt something cold move through his body. It was not fear. He did not feel fear. It was just surprise. Yes. Surprise. You are lying, he said. Maybe, maybe not. Tell you what, why? Don't you check the Galactic Council's classified files, the ones marked do not open in big red letters? I'll wait. Turn to Al. Find those files. Al was already searching. His fingers moved fast across his screens. When he found the files, his face went pale gray. Commander, he whispered, you need to see this. The files appeared on the main screen. They were old, very old. They contained reports from ships that had visited Earth hundreds of years ago, explorers and scouts who had come to study the primitive humans. The reports were not good. One file described humans as persistent predators. This meant they did not chase prey by running fast. They chased prey by never stopping. They would follow an animal for days, walking slowly, never resting until the animal was too tired to run anymore. Then they would kill it. Another file described human history, wars that lasted for years, soldiers who fought until they had no weapons left, then fought with their hands, cities that were bombed flat and rebuilt within a generation, people who survived diseases, famines, and disasters that would have ended any other species. A third file contained a warning from a Galactic Council scientist. It said, do not invade Earth. The humans have a quality we do not have a word for. The closest translation is spite. They will fight not because they can win, but because you told them they cannot. They will destroy themselves just to hurt you. They are not rational. They are dangerous beyond measure. The final file was the most disturbing. It was a simple note added only 50 years ago. Human update. They have nuclear weapons now, thousands of them, enough to destroy their own planet many times over. They keep them pointed at each other. They have not used them. We do not know why. This species is insane. Stared at the screen. For the first time in his long career, he felt uncertain. On the communication screen, Secretary General Martinez was still smiling. Done reading? Good. Now let me tell you what's going to happen. You can turn your ships around and go home. We'll pretend this never happened, or you can try to invade, in which case she shrugged. Well, it's been a while since we had a good fight. We're kind of looking forward to it. You cannot defeat us, said, but his voice was not as strong as before. We have 3,000 ships. I know, we've been counting. The woman picked up her cup again. Want to know something funny? Your ships are very advanced, beautiful technology, really impressive, but we've been watching you approach for 3 days now. We've already figured out how your shields work. We've already found the weak spots in your armor. We've already written the targeting programs for our missiles. She took a sip of her drink. We've been waiting for someone like you for a long time, Commander. We've been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Every movie, every book, every war game we've been practicing, we've been dreaming about this. Her smile grew wider. So please, please try to invade. Give us an excuse. We have so many weapons we've never been allowed to use. So many soldiers who have been training their whole lives for this. So many scientists who can't wait to take apart your ships and learn how they work. She leaned very close to the screen. We're Not trapped on this planet with you. Commander, you're trapped in this solar system with us. The screen went black. Stood very still for a long moment, then he straightened his back and pushed away. His doubts, he was a commander of the Dominion, he did not run from primitives. Launch the ground forces, he ordered. We attack now. It was the worst decision he had ever made. But he would not understand that for another 12 hours. Then it would be far too late. The first wave of soldiers landed in a place called Texas. Commander had chosen this location carefully. It was flat and open, good for their hover tanks, good for air support. The nearest large city was called Houston. Taking it would show the humans that resistance was useless. 500 landing ships touched down in the desert. 20,000 soldiers stepped out onto Earth for the first time. They wore their best armor. They carried their most powerful weapons. They expected the humans to run. The humans did not run. Within the first hour they learned something terrible. Human weapons were primitive. Yes, they did not fire energy beams or plasma. They fired small pieces of metal at very high speeds. These pieces of metal were called bullets. Bullets did not care about energy. Shields were designed to stop energy weapons. Bullets were just fast-moving objects. They went right through. The first soldier to die was shot by a human farmer. The farmer was 70 years old. He had white hair and wrinkled skin. He should not have been a threat, but he was hiding behind his truck with a rifle, and he was a very good shot. The soldier squad tried to shoot back, but the farmer was already moving. He ran between buildings, shooting, then moving again. He did not seem afraid. He seemed angry. His farm had been destroyed by the landing ships, and he wanted revenge. More humans appeared. They came from houses and barns and trucks. They carried rifles and shotguns and pistols. Some carried weapons that had belonged to their grandfathers, old weapons, antique weapons, weapons that should not work against advanced alien armor. But the armor had weak spots. The humans found them quickly. By the end of the first hour, they had lost 300 soldiers. The squad leader called for air support. Fighters flew in fast and low. They fired their weapons at the human positions. The humans fired back with missiles, not advanced missiles, old missiles. Missiles designed to shoot down airplanes, but they worked. 3 fighters crashed into the desert. How is this possible? The squad leader shouted into his radio. They are farmers. They are old people. Why do they all have weapons? Back on the Eternal Conquest, Al was reading about Texas. His eyes grew wider with every word. Commander, he said, I think I understand the problem. Tell me this region. The humans here have a tradition. They believe that every person has the right to own weapons. Many weapons, soldiers' weapons, hunting weapons for fun. They train with these weapons from childhood. They compete with each other to see who is the best shot. Why would civilians need such weapons? They say it is for protection. They say it is their right. Al paused. Commander, there are more weapons in this one region than there are people. Every house could be a fortress. Felt a headache starting behind his eyes. Send more soldiers. Overwhelm them with numbers. More soldiers landed. More soldiers died. The humans did not fight like soldiers. They did not stand in lines or wear uniforms. They hid. They ran. They attacked from behind and then Disappeared, they set traps, they waited. For hours without moving, then struck. Without warning, and when they shot them, they did not always die. This was the second terrible lesson: humans could survive injuries that would kill any. Shot in the chest would die in minutes. A human shot in the chest might keep fighting for hours. Some of them kept fighting until they ran out of blood. One human soldier was shot 7 times. He crawled 500 m with a grenade in his hand. He pulled the pin with his teeth. He died, but he took 4 with him. Squad leaders began to panic, decided to try a different location. He sent the second wave to a place called Finland. The reports said it was quiet and peaceful, a nation of quiet people who liked nature and books. The reports were wrong. Finland was cold, very cold. They came from a warm planet. Their armor was not designed for freezing temperatures. Within an hour, their weapons began to malfunction. Their joints became stiff. Their blood slowed in their veins. The Finnish humans did not seem to notice the cold. They wore white clothing that made them invisible in the snow. They moved silently through the frozen forests. They appeared, fired their weapons, and vanished before they could react. Where are they? A commander screamed. They were just here. I do not know, sir. They seemed to become part of the snow. The Finns did not speak much. They did not taunt or threaten. They simply killed with quiet efficiency. They had been defending their frozen land for thousands of years. They knew every tree, every hill, every shadow. One Finnish sniper killed 37 in a single day. He did it with a rifle that was 200 years old. When they finally found his position and bombed it, they discovered he had already moved. He killed 12 more. Before sunset, the second wave was destroyed, was becoming desperate. He looked at his map of Earth and chose a third location, a large island continent in the southern hemisphere, a place called Australia. The report said it was mostly empty, desert and wild animals. Very few cities, an easy target. The third wave landed in Australia. None of them came back. The last transmission from the Australian invasion force was confused and terrified. The commander was screaming about everything, trying to kill them. Not just the humans, everything. The animals are weapons. Are snakes that can kill with one bite. Spiders hiding in boots, birds that attack for no reason. The trees have poison, the water has monsters, and the humans think this is normal. The transmission cut off. Back on the Eternal Conquest, Al was reading about Australian wildlife. His hands were shaking. Commander, he said, the humans of Australia evolved alongside the most dangerous creatures on their planet. They think nothing of it. They share their homes with things that could kill them at any moment. They swim in water filled with sharks and crocodiles and poisonous jellyfish for fun. That is insane. Yes, Commander, but now you understand. The entire planet is like this. Every region has its own dangers. Every group of humans has learned to survive something that should have killed them. They are not soft. They are not weak. They just look that way because we do not know what they have survived. Sat down heavily in his command chair. 3 waves of soldiers, 3 disasters, thousands dead or missing. And they had not even reached a major city yet. He thought about what Secretary General Martinez had said. We've been waiting for someone like you. Now he understood what she meant. The humans had been fighting for their entire existence fighting their planet, fighting each other, fighting disease, and disaster and death itself. They did not know how to stop fighting. It was built into their bones, and now they had a new enemy to fight. Was beginning to realize that he had made a terrible mistake, but his pride would not let him retreat. Not yet. Prepare the orbital weapons, he ordered. If we cannot defeat them on the ground, we will destroy them from above. It was his third terrible decision, and it would be his last. Commander had lost patience. His ground forces were destroyed. His soldiers were afraid to land on the planet. The humans were winning, and they were doing it with weapons that should not work against the mighty fleet. It was time to end this. Target the largest human city, he ordered, the one called New York. Show them what happens when they resist the Dominion. His weapons officer hesitated. Commander, there are millions of humans in that city. If we destroy it, the other nations may fight harder. They will fight until they die. Either way. At least this way they will no fear. Fire the orbital cannons. The weapons charged. Blue light gathered at the front of the Eternal Conquest. The other ships in the fleet added their power. Enough energy to melt a mountain was aimed at the surface of Earth. The cannons fired. The blue beams shot down toward New York. They were beautiful and terrible, bright enough to see from space. In seconds they would hit the city. Millions would die. Then something happened from the surface of Earth. Small objects rose into the sky. They were faster than anything they had seen from the humans before. They climbed toward the orbital beams like angry bees. Missiles, human missiles, but not just any missiles. These were the missiles that humans had pointed at each other for decades. Nuclear missiles, the weapons they had built to destroy themselves. Now they were being used for a different purpose. The missiles hit the orbital beams. The nuclear explosion scattered the energy. Instead of one focused attack, the beams broke into 1,000 harmless pieces. They fell into the ocean. They burned empty fields. They did not touch New York, could not believe what he was seeing. How did they stop the cannons? They used nuclear weapons, Commander. They detonated them in the upper atmosphere to disrupt our targeting. They set off nuclear bombs above their own cities. Yes, Commander, they said. Al checked his translation. They said a little radiation never hurt anyone and worth it. Before could respond, alarms began screaming across the ship. The humans were attacking from all over Earth. Spacecraft were rising. They were ugly. Ships boxy and crude. They did not have the smooth lines of vessels. They looked like they were built in a hurry, welded together from whatever metal was available, because they were in the 3 days since the fleet arrived. Humans had been building. Every factory on Earth that could work with metal had been converted. Every engineer and scientist had been put to work. They did not sleep. They did not rest. They built ships day and night because someone told them they could not fight back, and humans hate being told they cannot do something. The human ships rose into space. They did not have energy shields or advanced weapons. They had one thing: anger. Commander, the human ships are approaching our fleet. Destroy them. They cannot hurt us. The fired their weapons. Many human ships exploded. Hundreds of human pilots died in the first minute, but more ships kept coming. For everyone destroyed, 2 more appeared. Then the notice something Strange, the human ships were not firing weapons, they were just flying straight at the fleet. What are they doing? Asked Al. Understood before the commander did. His face went pale gray. They are going to ram us. What? They are going to fly their ships directly into our ships. They will die, but they will damage us. That is suicide. Yes, Commander, they know. The first human ship hit a cruiser at full speed. The explosion was massive. The cruiser's shields flickered and failed. A second human ship hit the same spot. The cruiser broke in half. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, everyone watched. In horror, the humans were throwing themselves at the fleet, some of them ejected before impact, many did not, and they were singing. The communication officers picked up strange signals from the human ships, loud sounds, rhythmic, aggressive. The humans called it music. One human pilot was broadcasting something called Highway to Hell as he flew straight into a battleship. Another was playing something called Ride of the Valkyries. Another was screaming words that the translator could not make sense of, something about not going quietly into the night. They are insane, whispered the weapons officer. They are completely insane. No, said Al quietly, they are human. More human ships arrived. These ones were different. They were old military shuttles that had been sitting in museums. They were cargo ships modified with extra engines. They were civilian spacecraft with bombs strapped to their holes. The humans were throwing everything they had at the fleet, and they were winning, not because their ships were better, not because their weapons were stronger. They were winning because they did not care about dying. They only cared about taking as many with them as possible. One human pilot named Johnson flew a small shuttle directly at the Eternal Conquest. His ship was damaged. His engine was on fire. He was probably dying already, but he kept flying. Watched on the screen as the shuttle came closer and closer. He could see through the cockpit window. He could see the human inside. The human was smiling. No, the human was laughing. Why is he laughing? Asked. He is about to die. Why is he laughing? The shuttle hit the Eternal Conquest's main hangar bay. The explosion killed 300 soldiers and destroyed 50 fighters. The human pilot died instantly. But the last image on the screen was his face still laughing. Al finally understood. Commander, I know why they fight like this. Tell me they do not fear death. They have a saying, everyone dies, not everyone truly lives. They think dying in battle is glorious. They think sacrificing themselves for their people is the highest honor. They have been doing this for their entire history. No species thinks like that. Humans do. Their stories are full of heroes who die fighting. Their history is full of last stands and noble sacrifices. They train their children to believe that some things are worth dying for. Another human ship hit the fleet. Another cruiser exploded. They are not trying to win, Al continued. They are trying to hurt us so badly that we never come back. They are trying to make us afraid. They are trying to show the entire galaxy what happens when you attack Earth. Looked at his fleet. Half his ships were damaged. A third were destroyed. And still the humans kept coming. Still they kept fighting. Still they kept dying with smiles on their faces. For the first time in his life, Commander felt real fear. These creatures were not normal. They were not rational. They were something else entirely, something that should not exist. A species that had turned war into an art form and death into a celebration. Commander said his tactical officer, "We are receiving reports from across the fleet. Morale is broken. Our soldiers are refusing to fight. They say they would rather surrender than face more humans." Looked at the blue planet below. It was still beautiful, still peaceful looking. But now he knew what lived there. Now he understood why the Galactic Council had put up quarantine warnings. "We should retreat," he said quietly. "We should retreat now while we still can." But it was already too late. The humans had just launched their second wave, and this time they were not using ships. They were using something much, much worse. They were coming in person. Humans boarded the ships. They came in small groups, cutting through airlocks with plasma torches. They wore armored suits that were ugly and heavy and covered with weapons. They carried rifles, pistols, knives, and things that Al did not recognize, but that looked very dangerous. The soldiers tried to stop them. They failed. A human soldier was different from a human farmer or pilot. These were professionals. They had trained their entire lives for close combat. They knew how to move through tight spaces. They knew how to fight in zero gravity. They knew exactly where to shoot it to kill it quickly or slowly, depending on what they needed. On the Eternal Conquest, alarms screamed as humans cut through the outer hull. Commander watched on the security cameras as a team of 12 humans entered his ship. They moved like predators, silent, focused, deadly. The first squad that found them lasted 11 seconds. "Send more soldiers," ordered Commander. "The soldiers are running away. They do not want to fight the humans." Then seal the corridors, trap them. The corridors were sealed. The humans cut through the doors when they could not cut through. They used explosives. When they ran out of explosives, they used their hands. One human, a woman with scars on her face, pulled open a sealed door with nothing but her strength and a metal bar. The door was designed to withstand explosive decompression. She opened it in 3 minutes. "That is impossible," whispered. "How strong are these creatures?" Al had been researching human biology. What he found terrified him. "Commander, humans come from a high-gravity world. Their muscles are dense. Their bones are thick. They can lift many times their own weight when they need to, and when they are angry or afraid, their bodies produce chemicals that make them even stronger. Chemicals. They call it adrenaline. It removes their limits. It lets them ignore pain and fear. It makes them more." On the cameras, the human team was getting closer to the bridge. They had killed over 100 soldiers. They had not lost anyone. No, that was not true. They had lost 2, but the other humans had not stopped to mourn. They had taken the weapons from their dead friends and kept moving. One of them had carved a mark into her arm for each fallen teammate. She was still fighting with blood running down her wrist. Commander said, "The tactical officer, I recommend immediate evacuation. We cannot stop them." Wanted to argue. He wanted to stand and fight, but he looked at his soldiers and he saw the truth in their eyes. They were beaten. Their spirit was broken. The humans had done something that no enemy had ever done before. They had made the afraid. All ships set into the fleet communication system. "Retreat, jump to hyperspace. Immediately, leave everything behind. Just go." Ships began to flee. Some made it to hyperspace. Others were too Damaged, others were caught by human ships before they could escape. On the eternal conquest, turned to run to the escape pods, but the door to the bridge opened. 12 humans walked in. They were covered in purple blood. Their armor was dented and burned, but they were still standing, still ready to fight. The leader was a tall man with gray hair and cold eyes. He looked at with no fear, no anger, no emotion at all. "Commander," he said in perfect galactic standard, "my name is General. On behalf of the people of Earth, I accept your surrender." "I do not surrender." "Then you die." The general raised his rifle. "Your choice, make it fast. We have more ships to capture." Looked at his officers. They were all staring at the floor. None of them would fight. None of them would die for him. He thought about what he had seen in the last 4 days. Farmers who fought like soldiers, pilots who laughed as they died, soldiers who would not stop, could not stop until every enemy was defeated. He thought about what the human Secretary General had said. "We've been waiting for someone like you." Now he understood. The humans had not been afraid of invasion. They had been hopping for it. They wanted to prove themselves. They wanted to show the galaxy what they could do, and they had shown it. "I surrender," said quietly. General nodded. "Smart choice." He turned to his soldiers. "Take them to the holding cells. Treat them well. We're going to need them to deliver a message." The invasion of Earth had lasted 4 days. Of 3,000 warships, only 17 escaped. The rest were destroyed or captured. Over 2 million soldiers were dead. Another million were prisoners. The humans had lost soldiers too, about 50,000. They held memorial services. They cried for their dead. Then they went back to work, studying the alien technology, learning from it, preparing for whatever came next. 3 months later, Al was released. He was the highest-ranking survivor, because had died during the journey home. Heart failure, the doctors said. But Al knew the truth. Had died of shame. Al stood before the Dominion Council and delivered his report. "We attacked them," he said. "We attacked a species that should not exist. They evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day, and they won. They did not just survive, they conquered their world. They tamed their predators. They cured their diseases. They split the atom and walked on their moon." He paused. "They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy, not because they are strong or smart or advanced, because they do not give up ever. You can kill them, you can burn their cities, you can destroy everything they love, and they will crawl out of the ashes and come for you. They will chase you across the stars. They will hunt you until they find you, and when they find you, they will make you pay for what you did." The council was silent. "There is one more thing," Al said. "They asked me to deliver a message." "What message?" Al took a deep breath. "They said, thanks for the new ships. Tell your friends." The council members looked at each other with fear in their eyes. "What does that mean?" asked one of them. "It means they learned from our technology. It means they are building new ships, better ships that can travel between stars." Al felt sick. "It means they are coming." 1 year later, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. A new species had entered galactic space. They were expanding fast. They were making allies. They were trading technology and culture and something they called coffee. The humans had arrived, and they had not forgotten what they did. The council updated their warning about Earth, the new warning read. Local designation Earth status active. Date threat level maximum special note. They know you are watching. They are waving. Do not wave back. Do not make eye contact. Do not exist in their vicinity. They have long memories and know forgiveness if you have wronged them. Run, it will not help, but it will give you time to make peace with your gods. The warning ended with one final line. You were warned. Far away on a small blue planet, Secretary General Martinez sat in her office and looked at the stars. She was drinking coffee from the same cup she had used during the invasion. It had a chip on the rim now. She liked it that way. A message arrived on her screen. The Galactic Council had officially recognized Earth as a sovereign member of the galactic community. They had also sent a very polite request that humans please stop being so scary. Martinez smiled and typed a reply. Thank you for the recognition. We look forward to meeting our new neighbors. Please understand that we mean no harm to anyone who means no harm to us, but if anyone else wants to try what the tried, they are welcome to visit. We'll leave the light on for them. She sent the message and leaned back in her chair. Outside her window, the sun was setting. Children were playing in the streets. People were going home to their families. The world kept turning same as always, but up in the sky new stars were appearing. Human stations, human ships, human dreams spreading across the galaxy. They had been waiting for this moment for a long time, and now that it was here, they were going to make the most of it. After all, they were human, and humans never give up.